So I put up a little poll asking you guys what position group you want to talk about heading into the Six Nations squad selection. You guys obviously picked outside half, no surprise. There's a lot of talk about who's going to potentially come up and take that position. In this one, I'm just going to go through all of the runners and riders and give my thoughts on what I think their chances are, what their strengths and weaknesses are. Um, I'm probably not going to really talk about Anscombe because he is clearly the head and shoulders above everyone else. Even though he didn't have the best autumn, he's clearly still the most experienced and can offer most in that position. Playing really well for Gloucester as well. So I'll leave Anscombe as just the main guy at the front, and then I'll talk about the other players that can potentially back him up and come off the bench, or maybe push him for a starting role. So the first player I want to look at is the same as Anscombe playing over in the Premiership, and that is actually Jarrod Evans. Now Evans is someone who, when I talk about the outside half position, tends to get quite a lot of mention in my comments, and I can understand why, because I think Evans offers something that no other Welsh 10 that is in the current crop can offer. He's got a very, very good attack game. He brings the ball to the line and he attacks the line better than any other Welsh outside half at the moment, I think. He's got that trademark arcing run with the double pump dummy that he loves throwing out, and he always seems to make holes for himself and draw extra defenders in who don't actually know what he's going to do, whether he's going to go for the run himself or he's going to bring a player in. He's obviously got that maturity now. I think he's 28, so he's not young, but he's old enough to have experience, but young enough to be willing to put time into developing him as Wales's outside half. The issue is Gatland seems to have no interest in doing that at all. We've struggled to get consistency at the outside half position, and we haven't really had an outstanding candidate. So I'm surprised that he hasn't really given Evans an opportunity. He himself, Evans, has constantly said, whenever he's spoke to the media or whatever, he's constantly saying he's available and he wants to play for Wales. But it just seems like no matter what he does, he's got no interest from Gatland. He's been playing well since he's gone to the Harlequins. Obviously, he's competing with Marcus Smith for that 10 jersey, which is always going to be difficult. But he's still playing week in, week out, getting fairly consistent starts. Sometimes, therefore, he's forcing Marcus Smith to fullback because the Harlequins are wanting to start him at 10 instead. So you can see, anyone who watches the Premiership can see that he's got ability and he's actually playing well when he gets opportunities. I think for the issue for Gatland, the biggest thing, there's two things. His defence is not great, you have to be honest. Like, he's not scared to tackle, but he's just not a big guy, and his defence is probably a weak point of his game. And I think what Gatland probably dislikes the most is maybe his kicking game and just his all-round control of a game. I think he's not the type of player that suits the way Gatland wants to play, where he wants to put the boot to ball and just be very controlled and pretty conservative. To me, Jarrod Evans is the type of player that wants to run at the line and attack, and whenever there's an opportunity, he wants to play with sort of off the cuff and give it a go. And for that reason, I don't think Gatland is going to have a look at him. But if I was in the Welsh camp, I would certainly sort of get him in the squad and let him compete for that jersey, because I don't think we've got many better options than him at 10, but I just don't think he's going to get the chance. The player who has been getting the chances and who I actually think is quite similar play style to Jarrod Evans is actually Sam Costelow. Now, Costelow obviously seems like he's the heir apparent at the moment to take on the mantle when Anscombe is not available. He's obviously come in for quite a lot of flack over the last year, and some is deserved because some of his performances haven't been great. The Italy one springs to mind, where he missed touch a load of times. It's just criminal. You can't really afford to do that. But I don't think he quite deserves the amount of criticism he's been getting, particularly for Wales. I've said it multiple times that the reason Wales are where they are is not actually Sam Costelow, but he seems to draw the ire of a lot of fans and the frustration of a lot of fans. I guess that's just the nature of the position, but it's a shame really, because in my opinion, I think he's a really decent little player. He's still very young, and he feels like he's been around for a while now. And it's important to remember that he is still only 23, only had 17 caps. So though he's been around a bit and he has seemed like he's been groomed by this coaching team, he's not sort of at the peak of his development yet. There's still going to be lots to come, and players develop at different paces and things like that. So I think it's important we give him more time, and I do still think he's, possibly the best option of who's playing in Wales at the moment, if you sort of just exclude Jarrod Evans, because I don't think Gatland's going to pick him. So I would stick with Costelow. He's definitely looks a lot better this season. He played with quite a bit of injuries last year. It's easy to put a lot of expectation and disappointment on some of his performances that he's had for Wales, but it's important to put it in the context of he's come off the World Cup where a lot of players have retired. He's got injured in that Barbarians game and then played maybe one game straight starting in the Six Nations against Scotland. Got injured in that game. Wales struggled through the Six Nations and he was in and out of the team with injuries. So he's never really played behind a team going forward or in a winning team. And then he's dealt with a lot of injuries in and out of the team. So I think it's important that we just put it into context what he's actually had to put up with. And I don't think anyone else playing behind that pack would have really done much better. I mean, you saw when Anscombe came in the autumn that he couldn't sort of turn things around. It was the same old issues. So I think Costelow is going to be picked in the squad, and I think he deserves to be there. And I think the amount of time and effort that we've put into him so far, he deserves to get a chance to follow that through. And like I always say about Costelow, there's a good player in there, and I just think he needs a bit of time and a bit of confidence for that player to come out. And he's playing a lot better this season. His goal kicking seems to be improved over the last sort of few months, and he just seems a lot more confident. So let's hope that translates to better performances on the pitch for him. Moving away from Costelow now, but I guess might as well stick with the Scarlets. The other options there is Yoan Lloyd. Saw him feature a few games in the Six Nations when Costelow was injured. He's one who sort of divides a little bit of opinion. He's got an all-round game. He's very, very attacking. Probably the most individually dangerous of all the players in the outside half players in Wales, which is obviously a testament to his ability. He's got very good footwork, very strong in the tackle, though he's not the biggest guy. His goal kicking is underrated as well, very consistent with that, and he's got a pretty decent sized boot. The issue with him is he's never really nailed down a position, and it's the same thing we always talk about when we talk about Yoan Lloyd, is where is his best position. A lot of people say fullback. I probably tend to agree with that, though I think he's looked better when he's played outside half this season. But like I always say, if he's going to be playing for the Scarlets, he's always going to be struggling for game time and battling with Costelow for 10. And unless he's playing week in, week out, it's hard to be able to give him the nod for Wales when he's not really playing week in, week out at 10 for the Scarlets. He certainly has his merits as an outside half, and I think he deserves to be in the squad for how he's played this season. And it's just his general versatility, very useful for a player to be able to play the amount of positions he can. And hopefully he just continues to develop at 10. Still 23, so he needs to really start to think about nailing down a position now, because if he does have any designs of playing for Wales, he's not gonna get in the team unless they know what position to pick him at. So yeah, Yoan Lloyd, I don't think he's really going to be getting a chance at 10 for Wales, but I think he might get in the squad. Sorry, so I'm adding this in after because I'd finished the video last night, had a bit of issue uploading it, and then the news came out that Yoan Lloyd was actually signing for Cardiff next season, which is mad news, to be honest. Quite a surprise as well. What I will say is I think it's a good move for Cardiff. It's going to add them with an extra bit of depth, and I think Yoan Lloyd might have the ability to beat Sheedy out. I'm not so sure about the move for Yoan Lloyd as the player, because he was obviously stuck behind Costelow trying to get play time, and he was sharing the duties with him. Now he's kind of going to have to share the duties with Sheedy, who's probably not going to go away on Wales duty, so it's really going to be a battle between those two.
I bet this move really hit Sheedy like a ton of bricks, because I bet he wasn't expecting this. I guess it's more an indictment where Cardiff think he is, because they clearly think that they need to bring someone else in, and you're not going to bring Yoan Lloyd in to sit on the bench, are you? And I don't think he's going to move without some sort of promise that he's going to generally play at 10. So I think overall, like I said, Cardiff, good move. I think it's probably a good move for Wales, because I think Lloyd is going to come in and probably have a good chance of beating Sheedy out for the starting role. And then it means that Lloyd will be playing hopefully more consistent and meaningful minutes at 10. So this is a real interesting move. I'd like to know what you guys think of this one, because I was getting a lot of messages on Instagram asking me what I thought yesterday. So I'd like to know in the comments what you lot think of this one. But I'm pretty excited for this one, and I think it's on the whole a good move. There's another couple of regional players, some who I think are a bit of a long shot, but we might as well talk about them. First, we'll start with Angus O'Brien, who I think has played fairly well at the outside half for the Dragons, though the Dragons have generally struggled. I think he's looked okay. Probably, again, same as Yoan Lloyd, not his most natural position, but he's got that howitzer of a boot, and his goal kicking is consistent. And when he's played 10 this year, he's been able to put Dragons in some good areas with some good kicking game. I think maybe if he was a little bit younger and he'd been playing 10 consistently for the last 2 or 3 years, I think he would have been worth a look at. But unfortunately, he is 30 now, so is it worth investing any time in bringing him into the squad and having a look at him? He's got that leadership quality, which could be useful within a squad, but I just think Wales are trying to move on to sort of bring new players in and a new younger crop of players, so I don't think there's much merit in bringing him in, though I do feel some of his performances this season have deserved at least a discussion of whether he can be someone that's going to improve that Wales squad. And then moving to Cardiff, we have Sheedy, who still gets a lot of attention on social media of people thinking he should be in and amongst the squad. When it was announced that he was coming back to play for Cardiff and he would be back in Wales, I thought, oh, that's perfect. He's going to compete and win the job for Cardiff, and then probably really compete and push hard to win the job for Wales. And I thought he could be potentially a really good option. Unfortunately for me, I've been a little bit disappointed with Sheedy. He's a good player and he has some really good moments, but I feel sometimes he can go missing. His goal kicking is probably a bit too inconsistent to be picking him for an international team where every point is so precious. But he does have a decent attacking game. He has good attacking kicks where he does kick passes and pins teams back, etc. And, he's got a bit of experience. He's in his late 20s now, 29, and he's got 16 caps. So he has got a bit of Welsh experience, and that could be useful bringing him into the squad. Someone who's been in and around that squad, though I'm not sure. I don't think he's worked with Gatland in the past. I think he was just there when Pivac was there. But, it could be worth a look. But for me, his biggest issue, and I probably think this is what will be his biggest issue with Gatland as well, is his defence is just not really good enough. Obviously, we saw him against Glasgow get absolutely mauled by Tuipulotu, and no shame in that really, because how good Tuipulotu is. But that is the type of standard you're going to come up against in the Six Nations and in international matches. You're looking at Bundyaki coming down your channel, and I just don't think that he has the defensive ability to be able to keep that area tight enough and not give enough gain line away consistently. And that is probably his biggest weakness of his game. It's a shame really, because I was really positive about him coming to Cardiff, and I was really thinking that he could be an option for Wales going forward, but it just hasn't sort of clicked. Although he's played well at times and Cardiff have played well, he's just been a little bit too inconsistent for my liking, so I wouldn't pick him. But a lot of people do like him, and I'd be interested to see if you guys think that he's worth bringing into the squad. But there is, of course, one player I want to finish up with, and no surprise, that is Dan Edwards. He's been excellent this season. He's really taken a big step forward. Obviously, there's been a lot of hype surrounding him last season, bursting onto the scene and looking superb and looking very mature for such a young guy. He's obviously got a lot of pedigree in the under-20s, played a lot of games for them and performed really well. And he's now nailed down his role at the Ospreys, basically started every game he's been fit and available to start this season. And he looks really good. And the Ospreys look a much better improved team with him at 10 than when they've used Owen Williams or Blair Walsh. Obviously, the caveat with him is going to be his age. Is he just too young, and do we need to leave him develop? And usually, I would say yes, 21 is far too young. Well, not far too young, but too young to probably bring in, given the current circumstance, the type of pack he's probably going to be playing behind, and the amount of difficulties Wales have faced at the moment. He's going to come in and people might think he's going to be the saviour, and I don't think he is going to be the saviour. But having said that, you can't argue with how well he's performed whenever he's been given an opportunity. Case in point, the recent festive derbies where the Ospreys played Cardiff. Ospreys had a relatively early red card, and he just controlled the game and looked like a senior player of 24, 25, like he'd been playing for a while, looked like he'd had international experience, knew exactly what to do and when to put the boot to ball, cover in the backfield because they were a man down at fullback for the second half, and obviously got his try slipping out of a tackle of Sheedy and some other players. And he just looks so dangerous. He's very calm and collected, very confident in his ability, and I think a player like that could be a bit of touch paper that we need and a spark that Wales might need to turn things around. To me, he's going to be the future of the outside half position in Wales as it stands. So why not get him in there? If Gatland's hesitant to give him a playing part, I can sort of understand that with the fact that he is still only 21. But we need him in the squad now. We need to have a look at him and see what he's like in that environment and give him an opportunity to see the standard of what the level is at international level. And so he's got a point where he can work towards, and he knows, right, this is the standard. I'm here, I need to get to there, or I'm already here. If I go to there, I'm gonna excel. And to be honest, if Gatland leaves him out of this Six Nations squad, I think it sends a horrendous message, because you can't argue that any Welsh outside half is playing better than him at the moment. And like I said, had it not been for his age, if he was 23, he'd be in the squad and he'd be starting without question. So why not give him an opportunity? I would literally chuck him on the bench behind Anscombe and see what he's made of, and just get him the experience, because he's got to learn at some point. So let's just get him out there and give him a shot. But to me, those are the main options for the Wales jersey at 10. I'd like to know what you think. The squad for the Six Nations will be out soon, which is mad to think about it. So we'll see if any of our predictions are right pretty quick. But let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one.